Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear brothers. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. The message that he sent to me reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My name, not his real name, is called Tafatswa. I am living here in South Africa with my wife, whom I will call Patience. What I'm about to share with you is something that I never imagined myself doing such a thing. But the guilt of the thing that we did, it is eating away at me, and I feel like I need to confess. I also blame my wife because at that time, when we were busy with these rituals, trying to strengthen our businesses, that was when she first said that she wanted a young sister to come. She said that a young sister was supposed to come and to stay with us here in South Africa. That was in the year 2022. That was when I made such a very terrible mistake. My wife's young sister, she came from Zim. She came to live with us here in Johannesburg. She was only 19 years at that time. She had just finished a college schooling in Zimbabwe. We welcomed her into our home, promising her that I was going to help her to find a good job, but instead of being the protective brother-in-law that I was supposed to be, then I let my lust get the better of me. I started to have an affair with her. At first, it was just flirting with her, but soon after that, it was more than that. Whenever my wife was not there, we would sleep with each other, and before long, we found out that she was pregnant. When she told me that she was expecting, then I really panicked. I should have told my wife first, but I then informed the traditional healer, a man from Mozambique who was staying at the same complex where we were staying at that time. I went to his room and I told him that this was what had happened, since he was the one who used to give me some charms to make other women to fall in love with me. When I told him, he also panicked about what had happened, and he said that this that had happened was going to ruin my marriage, to destroy my life, and to bring shame upon me. So I confessed to my wife. After I had confessed to my wife, she was angry at first. I then returned back to that traditional healer who told me that he knew that this was what was going to happen. So my wife later on, I then spoke with her and she said that we needed to make a plan. So when I told her that this was what had happened, my wife then said that we needed to speak with that same traditional healer who was staying at the same complex where we were staying. So the man then said that we needed to find some money because already there were some incomplete rituals that we still needed to perform. He said that now this was the time. So all along, this man from Mozambique, what he did not tell us was that there was blood that was going to be needed in our rituals, because me, I have my own business here in South Africa. So I always wanted that business to grow really big. So as someone who was competing against big tech companies, that was when me and my wife decided that we should try to find a healer who can give us some charms to bring us good luck in our business. So we then traveled to Mozambique. The traditional healer, that man that we had traveled with from South Africa, he then helped us, but he was being helped by another traditional healer who gave us charms and rituals to perform, claiming that they were going to help us. But what we were doing, we were sacrificing my my wife's little sister. So later on, when we returned back to South Africa, that was when the man told us that it was already too late. I was rushing with her to the hospital on this other day when the traditional healer told me that she was not going to survive during childbirth. But at that time, it was already too late and I had no choice at all. When we went into labor, we went at Hani Hospital. She suffered some complications there. The traditional healer told us that the doctors, even though they had tried to save her, but he said that he had summoned one of the doctors who was on that shift, who was attending to her, and when he summoned the doctor, she came to him, but in the spiritual realm, and then he possessed her body. After he had possessed the body of that doctor, the doctor could not do anything about her. And then later on, it was said that it was due to the difficulties in labor that caused her death. But we knew what had happened. She was a victim of ritual sacrifices. We had sacrificed her. After her burial, my wife insisted that we should take one final step so that we can seal this deal to complete this ritual, because the healer had told us that this ritual was not complete. Because when we were returning back to Zim, my wife had spoken for a very long time with this man. So when we were now in Zim, under the cover of the night, we did something that was really evil. My wife texted me. So when my wife texted me, she then said, "Can you meet me?" Because there were still some of her relatives, because we were gathered at her father's compound, at my father-in-law's compound. Then she told me that the healer had told her that this is what we were supposed to do, and the healer did not want to tell me because he was afraid that if he was going to tell me that this was how we were supposed to complete these rituals, maybe I was going to refuse to do that. And this was the most important part of this ritual sacrifice that we had done. So my wife then told me that I was supposed to follow her. So I then followed her and then went to her little sister's grave. When we went to her sister's grave, still, I did not even know what exactly we were supposed to do. My wife told me that this would ensure our safety and wealth. So my wife, she was the first one. She just went close to her little sister's grave. She then dropped her skirt that she was wearing, including her underwear as well. Then she started to poop on top of her little sister's grave. She pooped on her final resting place, and she told me that this was what I was supposed to do as well. So at first I had to urinate on top of her poop, and after that, that was when I also dropped my trousers, my underwear, and then I pooped as well. And she came and she urinated on top of my poop. So this was done so as to make sure that her spirit will never rise up again, so as to secure our future. So since that night, it's not like I see her spirit physically in the real world, but what I have noticed is that each and every time, the moment that I close my eyes before I go to sleep, I always feel her presence, as if she'll be with us in our bedroom. When we returned back to South Africa, there was this other white man. He had his own engineering company, but this man, he had since left South Africa. He went to Australia. So he then contacted me and he told me that there was a big project that is going on, like now with this renewable energy. He told me that whilst they were planning for that investment, then he thought about me and he thought about my company and what we had done together at the time when he was still in South Africa. So now we have already been handed this project. We are just waiting to sign the final contract. And that is not the only good thing that has happened to us since we came from Zim. There are other projects that we have been running, even though we are making it big here in South Africa. But I feel like I am being haunted by the choices that me and my wife we had to do, even though we have now secured our future. But I feel like there is no amount of money or protection, spiritual protection, that will ever bring peace to my soul. What we did, I know that it was very wrong. Please do not judge me. Dear listeners, right, there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brother. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world.